and welcome to the Real Life Sports Show. This podcast is for sports fans, whether you're playing it, interested in it, or looking to learn from high achievers. My name is Sam Adams. I'm known as the Real Life Coach. I'm a business owner and a life coach, and I work with sports professionals, athletes, coaches, and people in and around the industry. I help those people live more expansively, more authentically, so that they can enhance their performance, whether that's playing their game or living their real life. My background is in business. I've been in business for over 20 years in property. I've mentored and coached in that industry, and that led me into being a life coach. I'm super passionate about sports, and that's what led me to working in that industry and creating this podcast. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking to some amazing human beings, some elite athletes and people from that industry. We're going to be talking about the glory, the glamour, the achievements and the medals, but we're also going to go to the real life bit, behind the scenes, what it really takes to excel. We're going to talk about the guts, the determination, the grit and the grime. For you, the listener, you're going to get some great takeaways and insight, whether you're looking to achieve for yourself around your mindset or your personal development. This is the podcast for you. So, if you enjoy the podcast, I'd love for you to leave me a 5-star review and any comments you have. So here we go, the Real Life Sports Show. Welcome everybody. Yes, you are listening to the Real Life Sports Show. My name is Sam Adams, as you hopefully probably already know. And today I'm joined with an amazing guest who I met on Clubhouse not that long ago. When she popped up on the screen, I was all over that like a rash. I'm like, I need to get you on my podcast. So today I'm very delighted to say that I'm joined by the amazing Kay Rawlins. So good morning to you and good afternoon to me. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the morning here. So
and 2 o'clock for me. For those that don't know, you are the founder of Orlando City. You're the president of Orlando City Foundation. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yes.
Which is an NWSL soccer team across the pond in the States. But as people's probably going to hear you speak in a minute, you don't sound like you're from across the pond. So welcome anyway.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So obviously originally not from America. You've got a very British accent there.
Yeah. So originally from Stoke-on-Trent. So one of 5 kids, grew up obviously in Stoke. And as you know, everyone in England, well, in Britain, what's football.
Yes.
It's the sport, and I know there's others, but it's the one sport that everyone gets excited around. So it's in my blood, if you like.
Yeah, it's a national game, isn't it? I think most countries have their national game. For us, it's football, isn't it?
Yeah, and and being a Stoke City fan, by the way, talk about having ups and downs. But people here in America are amazed when I say, they were formed in 1863. So they're one of the founders of the league, 1863. They've been around such a long time. And, that's one of the things in America, things are still so new.
Yeah. But how did you grow up sort of, because I'm 53. I played all sorts of sports. I'm a huge sports fan. It was really difficult for me to play football. Couldn't play it in school. I did athletics. That's all I could do, really. So when I sort of came out of school, I found a football team. I can't even remember how it happened. I mean, it was a grubby old thing. There was 8 of us in a car to get to a game. It was all illegal. There wasn't no seat belts or anything. Somebody was probably even in the boot. Do you know what I mean? And we pulled together a team. It was all a mishmash. Some people had a little bit of kit. Most people didn't really have anything, and some scruffy old boots. And I just wanted to be involved in any sport, to be honest. That was me growing up as a kid. What about for you? Was it sport? Was it in your blood, or was it?
Yeah, sport all the way. When I went to high school, it had been a grammar school, a grammar school. So it had amazing facilities. So we had our own swimming pool, we had tennis courts, a track, rugby fields, everything.
Yeah.
So I pretty much played every single sport. So, you know, every lunchtime, there would be a practice for something. After school, there would be practice for something else. I mean, my favorite, well, I swam for my school. I played tennis, but my favorite was hockey. So, and for Americans who are listening, that's field hockey, not ice hockey.
Yeah, we don't have the distinction here because we don't need it. It's
No,
hockey.
Yeah, it's just hockey.
Yeah.
I loved hockey, and I was the team I was on all through high school was almost unbeatable. So that was such a great thing to be around. The teamwork, the fun and camaraderie that we had, and obviously it helps when you're always winning.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But one of my friends at the time was her and her family were the Stoke City fans. They took me to a game, and I was hooked. And especially one of the funny things for me was watching her mom, who was this very proper, English lady, lose her.
You can swear, it's fine. I swear a lot. So
checking, she would lose shit, and I was like, who is this person? Like, she's just transformed. She would be screaming at the players and just going absolutely crazy. And that was it. And you know, through the rest of my time in England, I went to games, you know, away games too. Had a great friends, and we would an away day in Britain is one of the best things. Like, I love it because they would pick out the route to wherever we were going, whichever team we were playing, and they would pick out the good beer guide. Check to see which pub we should check out on the way, and some of them were in these obscure little tiny but it was always so much fun.
That's part of the fun for us. As I said, my grassroots sort of playing football days, it was like on the way back, it was like, which pub are we going to stop at, you know? It was
absolutely, it's a big part of life.
Well, it is in any sport, and you are transformed, you know. When I get very passionate about my sports, and I'm a jump out of the chair kind of person and scream at the telly if it's the TV, or if I'm in a stand, I do get very but I think a lot of people do. We're very passionate, aren't we, about our sport?
Well, and I think it's why so many people see it as an outlet. You know, who maybe had a frustrating week at work, or, you know, things aren't going so great. But you watch the game, you're with your friends, you're with people, you're in your tribe.
Yeah.
Around you understands your love for that team. And then you can just go crazy for 90 minutes and you know, get some of that frustration.
For sure.
Now,
and I think that's what one of the things that I'm really passionate about is women in sport, the visibility of women in sport, us all having a level playing field, fairness and equality. And I think, you know, for me as a kid, my childhood was okay, but I was abused as a child. So my only outlet, because I wasn't academic, was sport. And I would do track and field in school, and I belonged to a club outside of school as well. And that was my saving grace, in all honesty. It really was my outlet for the inner frustrations that no one knew that I had, for me to just get rid of it. And one of the things that makes me incredibly sad, and still here we are 2021, is that some young women and young girls don't see sport as something that that's for just for boys, or, you know, and one of the things for me is that it's like, it's okay to get sweaty, it's okay to go there and be physical and be a bit more masculine, and because that will really actually help you. And sadly, a lot of young girls get to a certain age and then they lean away from it because they don't want to get hot, sweaty and bothered and build muscles, so they think, or whatever. And I want to change that. That's one of the things I'm passionate about. But also, we need it to be seen in order for it to educate people, and for other people, young girls and women, to understand that this is okay. For, you know, you can go and do that, and you can come off the pitch and you can be a mum, a beautician, or whatever, and you can still do these things. So I totally get what you were saying about, you know, we go there and it's a good outlet for us. It's a great outlet, and sport is so good for us physically, but more importantly mentally, to get rid of those frustrations and to boost us as well. So just to give you a little potted thing about why I'm so passionate about it, But this sorry, go on.
No, you're good. Carry on.
No, what I really want to talk to you about, because obviously, you're a founder of Orlando City Soccer, football, as we call it across the pond, and you call it soccer. Here, like you said, it's been here it feels like forever. It's our national game. But over there with you guys, it's a very new sport, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So MLS is still 26 years old. So still very young. And NWSL, the women's league, has had several iterations where it's been around and then it's been around and then it failed. So we're in a really good space right now with NWSL, but it's in contrast, and it's one of the kind of dichotomies in a way. One of the contrasts is the women's national team have been incredibly successful, and yet the league has stuttered and has struggled. Contrast that with the guys have let's just say they've struggled.
Nationally.
It's been challenging for them, and yet MLS has done a really great job. And I think one of the things they had a kind of a light bulb moment over was who were they marketing to. And at the very beginning of MLS, they were really kind of targeting soccer families. So, kids who were already going to practice 2 or 3 times a week, and they weren't getting the attention and the attendance that they wanted. And they started going after millennials. And that was the game changer over here, because all of a sudden there was this generation who were connected, who could be in a chat room of talking about Liverpool in Africa, in France, and in Liverpool, and you can all be on the chat room but all talking about your team. Played FIFA. Never underestimate how important that was, because a lot of kids in America learned the rules through FIFA. They learned about the international game, they learned players, and I think they wanted something for themselves. So if you obviously, baseball here is a big game, and you would your dad and probably your granddad too, and obviously American football. But for this generation, this was a sport they could embrace and take on and make their own, their own missions. We have a march to the match, which is, it's off the charts, incredible. I'll send you some video about it, but it's. They gather kind of away from the stadium, and then they march with drums and smoke flares and flags.
I love that.
It's amazing. It's really, really cool. But that's very organic. It was something they did all by themselves. And so I think that's contributed definitely to the success over here, is having that younger generation who, they're earning and they can spend their money, but they managed to find a sport that they could mold and make their own. So I think for NWSL, that's the next challenge. It's us finding out who we should be marketing to, who is our audience, there, and how do we get them in the seats? And again, it's that strange. Here's a quick example. So we know our social media engagement for Orlando Pride is off the charts. Like, we have amazing social engagement. We launched our jersey last week, literally launched it into space, and had this incredible outpouring and people engaging all over the place. But unfortunately, at the moment, it still doesn't translate into getting thousands and thousands of people into the stadium.
Right.
So that's our next kind of puzzle that we have to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tricky one. It's so interesting that, I've become more and more fascinated with the women's game here, which is doing great. But in America, because I've grown up watching the women's national team and seeing them kill it. They've been killing it. and yet you've had all of these, and I don't understand it all, because obviously I'm not on the ground over there, about all of the different versions of a women's league that you've had. How many have there been? Do you know? How many times have they tried to get it off the ground?
I think this is the third.
Right.
I think. Yeah.
Okay. And how long has this been going?
I think we're 7, maybe 8 years into it now, which is great.
Yeah, fantastic. And have Orlando been a part of it for that whole time?
No, we joined in 2016. So we started the team in 2011. The MLS team. We started in United Soccer Leagues. So they're the second tier of soccer in this country. We were a USL team for 4 years. So between 2011 and 2014, and we won everything. Like, we kept winning the league, we won the playoffs, we did really well. We became an MLS team in 2015. Played our first game, Camping World Stadium. We had 62,500 people, which was off the chart.
Yeah.
Crazy. And the very next year was when we started with Orlando Pride. So 2016. Alex Morgan was obviously one of our first signings. We have Ashlyn, we have Ali, we have obviously Marta, who is like just a phenom.
You don't need to say her surname. A lot of these players, for me, maybe for some of the other listeners, but I obviously, Alex Morgan and all of that, and I know them. But Marta, globally, everyone knows who Marta is.
Yeah. So we haven't had the success on the field that we would like yet. It's coming for sure. It's always hard building a team, from scratch and trying to figure out this league. And, I think one of the things when players come here especially from Europe, is getting your arms around the travel. So, we can play on a weekend, Seattle.
Yeah.
That you've gone through two time changes, and it's taken you almost as long as it would to fly to England.
Yeah. Wow.
For a game. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are challenges, and not just for us. That's every team has those challenges. I guess it might be easier if you're in the middle and you've only got to go east or west.
Yeah.
But it makes it harder. And I'm sure at some point we're already in what's the word? Divisions.
Yeah.
So the east and west. So you mostly play all the teams on your side of the country. Just a couple of games a year where you'll cross over, and then there's a kind of a competition at the end where the top teams play each other. But the travel is a really hard one, and that's something where, especially now, if you think about the technology that has changed the game. And I grew up in the era where they would come off at halftime and have a cigarette.
Yes. Me too.
When you think about that now, it's just shock horror. Like, how is that even a thing?
Yeah.
Whereas now, they have GPS trackers. We know their heart rate. We know how far they've run in a game. And they have built for them their own fitness plan. And so one of the things I know for athletic trainers and their team is factoring that in when you're traveling away. What do you eat? What should you eat? What kinds of how do you help them get through the time lag piece as well? So, yeah, it's interesting.
It's a definite challenge. I'm not a great traveler, so glad. Well, I would love to be playing right now, quite frankly. I wish I was 30 years younger and playing. It would be an incredible experience to be playing in these times that we're in. Tell me about in the women's league, how many teams participate in each east and west then? How many are in each division?
Not for the women, no, there's only one.
Right. So they have to do the whole country for the how many teams are in the league?
There's 9, and then we've got one coming in next year. So we have a new team coming in, Angel City.
Yeah, I'm all very aware of Angel City.
Yes. Yeah, you know, it's generated quite a bit of excitement. It's always great when a new team comes in, because that means your league is growing and that you're going in the right direction. And this one, I feel like there's a lot of strong female personalities who are going to help instigate some change.
Yes.
You know, I think that's going to be one of the exciting things next year, is having them come in. They're already kind of making waves, excuse me, and they're doing what I would say is they're being really smart. They're already reaching out to teams to ask if they, ask to talk with different departments. How do you do this? What do you do about that? So when we were about to be MLS, we did the same thing. We went around and shadowed teams. You know, we took a cohort of staff and spent a day or 2 days with another team just to get an idea of, what a day is like, and how you think about this. Same thing actually when we were building the stadium. So we designed and built our own stadium, and we went to all the clubs that had already done the same thing and said, what are the things you did that you're like so glad you did? What are the things you did that you think you didn't really need that? And what did you miss? What do you wish? Because there's always something. There's always. So yeah, that was a really fun thing to do, and especially for us. And one of the things we've kept foremost in our club is community. And so we've involved our supporters in everything, including designing the stadium. They're the ones who asked if they could have a standing section, which were the first ones to do it. Obviously you and I, probably you too, I grew up standing on the booth. And then there was obviously the terrible tragedy, and so all that went away. But Germany started bringing it back, and we got permission to do it as well. But they're so funny. So if there's barriers in front of you where you're standing, and what they asked for was cup holders. You can drink obviously in stadiums here, and so if you bought a beer that's however many dollars, you don't want to spill it when you're jumping.
No.
So they wanted that. So they have that. They have the capo stands, which they're like little platforms that are built kind of out from the stand, and are the leaders of the supporter group stand in them. They take it in turns, 2 at a time, and they lead the cheers and the noise. It's crazy.
I love it. I want to come. You're making me want to come even more. I'm already want to come next year because I've been following the journey of Angel City, and I want to come for their first game next year. And now you've explained your stadium, I'm definitely coming because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It is. But I think that's an important piece for a lot of teams, is keeping your supporters, in your head all the time. And we've done it when we broke ground for the stadium. Rather than have a lunchtime mayor and a few dignitaries standing around with the shovels. We did it in an evening. We marched from downtown to the new stadium site with drums and flares and flags and singing. And then we did the ceremony there, and we'd flown in 25 tons of purple sand.
Wow.
And so everyone was given like a little ceremonial, like a glass kind of jar thing. So you could go get a scoop of the sand and take it home. And I see people all the time still who have them on their deck.
Amazing.
And I mean, it was it rather than a cup of dirty, disgusting soil. It was this purple sand. But again, that was us knowing that the fans would want to be a part of this amazing, kind of milestone in our journey. And
Yeah, no, that's amazing to hear that. And of course, people do want to feel part of it, and including them at every step of the way. They feel a part of it, and they're part of that journey, and then they're less likely to step away, and they stay for much longer. So it makes sense to do that. Sadly, a lot of clubs don't always do that. You see that around Europe, but yeah, it's a surefire way to just get them involved. Do you like this shirt? Do you like this color? What do you think about this design? What do you think about that design? What do you think about this font? What do you think? Get them involved, in everything, so they really feel a part of it. And that sounds like what you guys have been doing over there, which is an amazing job.
Well, I also think it's, again, going to millennials and the generations that have come after, they're looking at companies and organizations that they support to have some kind of social responsibility. So they we know how people get attached to a brand because they understand what's behind it, and they like the values of that company. Tom's is a classic example. And so for us, again, it was finding things in the community that we were passionate about, but we could also get our fans involved in. And great supporters of our foundation. We do free programming in a lot of the really underserved areas in Orlando, where kids want to play team sports, but unfortunately they're priced out of it here. It's more expensive to play for kids here.
Right.
So we provide everything that they could possibly need. We don't want there to be any barriers to those kids, being able to play the game. And that's been one of the things we've done is being able to get the supporters excited about that too, and support us, whether monetarily or whether coming and volunteering at an event we're doing, whatever those kinds of things are. But it's keeping them involved. And that's what helps sustain you through the tough times. And City and Pride have both had some tough times on the field, but for the most part, we've retained our supporters. They're do or die supporters now. This is their team, and they bleed purple, or they, they bleed the blue of the Pride. And it's, that those are the things that will sustain you through the tough times.
Absolutely, yes. You ride or dies. They just come with you, whatever. Doesn't matter where you go in tough times or not. Yeah, exactly. What's the differences then? Because you said it's a lot tougher it costs a lot more money for kids to get involved in the game there. Why is that? What's the differences compared to here?
I think there's a lot of travel. So I could go on for hours about youth soccer, and only because I think it's become all about the winning,
right?
Instead of about these kids having a good sport experience. Okay. A lot of it's tied up in wanting scholarships, and there's a lot of sports scholarships out there, and so parents wanting their kids to play a sport so that it helps with school. They pay the coaches, and when they travel, the team has to cover the travel costs as well. So there's quite a lot of money involved in it. Right. So yeah, it's a tough one, and it's not an easy nut to crack. And I'm by no means an expert, because I didn't grow up here, and neither did my kids. Had kind of gone through that system. I just hear it from other people. But like I say, I just know the kids we work with, and where our stadium is a traditionally African American community who grew up with basketball, football, and baseball. And now they have a big giant soccer stadium right in their neighborhood. And so even before we built it, and obviously since then, we've gone about introducing the sport where and when we can. And that can be at a community center. We build what we call mini pitches, football courts, whatever you want to call them. They're little, they're about the size of a tennis court.
Nice.
You can play small-sided games on them, and actually your skills grow pretty quickly because you get lots of touches of the ball.
Yeah.
Not like getting lost on some great big fields.
No.
You're in the game. And we do a lot of fun things with them as well, especially when you're introducing a game. You don't want to, make it so hard that they're going to go, ugh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. But that's been our way of introducing the sport, and then bringing kids to games, letting them actually, participate and see or feel the excitement when you actually go into a stadium. And for some kids, it's the first time they've ever been to a football game, a soccer game. So that's, another way that we do that. And we actually have a scheme with our season ticket holders that if they can't go to a game, but would like to donate their ticket, they can. And then they come to me in the community relations department, and we can bring some more kids to the game. So it's pretty.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
How does it work over there now, in terms of ticket entry? Because obviously, they've got baseball, they've got hockey, they've got football, and come to soccer. What is the comparison in the cost? Because obviously you go to baseball, that's a long ass day, right? That's a long day when you go to watch baseball, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, 5 hours, 6 hours you're there. Come to football, as I call it, soccer, a couple of hours.
No, baseball is obviously kind of like cricket. So
yeah.
It was never my favorite when I was in England. I just couldn't sit still for that long. That's too
yeah.
I know people just drink all day and
yeah, it's all right if you've got a picnic and a couple of beers, but
right.
and the sun's out, then it's fine.
yeah. I think in comparison, soccer is still a reasonable amount. It's not near what you would pay for a lot of the other sports,
right?
Especially the supporter section. You know that a lot of the folks, and by no means all, because there are crazies in every occupation, but you obviously want to keep the price where families can come, but also open your more low income supporters. You want them to be able to come. So we there's obviously, like every sport, there's a range of prices. So you can be in a section, obviously the other end of the stadium, the lower bowl, the upper bowl, and then we obviously have suites and experience. It's like any other. We're 5,500 seats. So
how many? Sorry, you cut out then. I missed what you said. How many?
Sorry, 25,500.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a range of pricing that hopefully kind of fits every pocket. Is the idea. But yeah, it's still what I would say a more blue collar sport.
Right.
Where it is your, the good people of this country who want to come. But I think, again, one of the things that I love is looking around our stadium and seeing our community reflected back. So it's every color, ethnicity, walk of life, religion, sexuality matter. If you're wearing City or Pride colors, you are in the tribe. It's that tribe. It is a tribal sport, I think.
Yeah.
More than any of the others. It really is a tribal sport. And one of the joys for me is going out on a weekend, and not even on a game day, and seeing people in purple and the purple and blue for the Pride, is seeing people wearing our jerseys everywhere we go. And I just, as someone, like I say, when we first came here and nobody knew who we were, and there had been two Major League Soccer teams here that had failed.
Right.
So there was a healthy dose of skepticism about whether we would ever be able to make it. So as someone who was here and obviously in the very beginning and has seen it grow in this incredible way, it's wonderful to walk around and see like I say, see our colors everywhere. We have car magnets. So we kind of started a craze. We had an amazing female market. She was head of our marketing department. And they were the ones who came up with all the crazy ideas in the beginning. And some of them were crazy, let me tell you. We had a truck with like a gobo that you could shine up onto the buildings at night with our logo on.
Brilliant.
We did a lot of kind of guerrilla marketing. He was the one who came up with the magnets. And we did this campaign, and it was you could only get a magnet on a Monday.
Right.
It was Magnet Monday. And of course, when you create scarcity, everyone wants.
Fear of missing out.
It became this thing. Like I've had it stolen off my car three times in one day is the record. People went crazy for them. And we would cover our truck in magnets, and then we'd put clues on social media. And it would just say, if you find it, take one. If you find one, take one. So we'd go looking for it, and it was, oh my gosh, so much fun. We would do drive-bys. You could drive through, and we'd slap one on the back of your car. But it became a thing, and I love seeing them, everywhere. And obviously, anyone who comes and visits gets magnets to take home. Brilliant. So I know there's some of them driving around in England.
I need to get one. I'm like, I want to come to the stadium. I've already seen the shirts, by the way, and I love the shirt. I love the new shirt, the women's shirt.
Oh, the Orlando Pride shirt is off the chart.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. Amazing. So I definitely got to get one of those, and now I want a magnet. It was a great vibe, that is. Well, a serious question here, though, because obviously there've been a lot of failure in Orlando. What made you and your other founders think that you were the difference, that you can be successful at creating this team and making it work?
I think first of all, we'd spent 3 years in Austin, Texas. So we knew the business side of it. We just couldn't get it momentum going in Austin at that time. It's kind of ironic that they have a team coming in this year. So we kind of knew the business piece of it. We just realized that we were in the wrong place, and we'd gone to United Soccer Leagues and said, we're out. We can't do this anymore. We're losing money hand over fist. We're still playing in a high school football stadium. We can't sell here. This is just not working. And so they gave a few markets that either wanted new investment, or they said, we've announced a team in Orlando, and the backer has ducked out. Like, he's come up into some financial trouble and he can't do it anymore. Please, will you look at Orlando? So, I was very, the Brit. I'm like, oh, it's just Disney, I can't imagine that they're going to want a team. But we flew in, and we're just so impressed. And I think that there was a lot of things. They have an amazing airport. Everyone flies to Orlando, so we knew that it was a great destination place. The climate is obviously great. But one of the bigger pieces was, and we'd already by this point started to think, let's go big. Like, we'll start as a USL team, but MLS is our ultimate destination. We want to be an MLS team. So, what would that roadmap look like? And at the time, when you looked on a map of the US, there was nothing in the East at all. As far as Texas and DC, and that was it. There was nothing. So we knew at some point MLS was going to have to expand into the Southeast. I think that was another driving factor of why Orlando. And it's been, honestly, I can't tell you what an amazing, welcoming, warm experience it's been. And one of the big factors for us was the mayor of Orlando, Buddy Dyer. If you're listening, Buddy, who saw the vision, and you know, he hadn't grown up with soccer, he didn't really know anything about it, but he had this vision for his city. And so there was only Orlando Magic here, so they're the only other league team. They already had one big stadium, obviously Camping World Stadium. They have the beautiful Amway Arena where the Magic play. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he wanted more sports and culture. So he was instrumental in opening doors for us, in, you know, bringing people to the table and saying, you need to talk to these people. Like, they're going to be, this team's going to work. And that was, you know, one of the biggest factors, was him helping us get established in the community. And having an advocacy group that was made up of influencers, and not the kind that are on TikTok. These are influencers in the community, you know, big business, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, you know, all those big companies, who we would give them, you know, updates every week, so that when they were out there in the community and talking, and someone said, oh, you know, have you heard about this team, and what do you think? You could go, oh yes, you know, here's what they're going to do, and this is going to be amazing. So yeah, it worked. And, you know, we have an incredible band of supporters. And I think, you know, it felt like they were just here waiting for a team to come, because they just appeared from everywhere. And, you know, everyone says, oh, we live in a diverse community. We really do. We have people represented from so many different cultures and countries here, who like me grew up playing or supporting soccer or football. And so, you know, everyone came together, and you know, it's just this amazing thing. So thank you, Orlando, because you
well, I hope many people from Orlando will listen to this podcast. You know, I want to make the podcast to, you know, global. Actually, I've got some great athletes from across the world that are going to be on it, so it's great. But I'm fascinated with, like I say, soccer. When I'm referring to American football, football, it's confusing, but I am fascinated by it. Hence why, you know, Angel City, I'm really invested in understanding that and watching that journey, and how and the things that they're doing there. And obviously, you know, I've seen I'm a big fan of Marta. I know, you know,
oh my God,
Alex, you've got some incredible players in that Orlando Pride. You really have. But the overarching thing is that the visibility of women's sport. You know, I know you're out there, you're promoting Orlando Pride, and you guys are doing an amazing job. Like, say, on social media, I see it everywhere. And I want to do my little bit, hence why I wanted to bring you on here to talk about Orlando as a whole, but, you know, Orlando Pride. So, you know, hopefully you get new ears on what you're all about. So, you know, following on from that, obviously the men's game is strong for Orlando City. The women's game, not so much. You've only got 10 teams or cities playing. How is you going to grow the game? Do you see growing the game for Orlando Pride and the NWSL as a whole? Because, you know, it's a huge country. You need, like, you know, more than 10 sides in it. And that's great that Angel City are coming in, and there's some incredible people that are behind that club. And I hope that really helps other cities come on board. Where do you see the future, and what is it that you guys think you can do to help your women and the game as a whole?
Yeah, and I think, and you know this from talking on Clubhouse, you know, and there are numerous conversations going on, sometimes every day, and I've loved listening, by the way, because there's so many young, inspirational young women coming up through the ranks who are supportive of each other as well. I love hearing, you know, a lot of them, the young players who come on Clubhouse and encourage and support each other in such amazing ways. And, you know, they're hopefully going to, you know, be part of that future. But one of the things we talked about a lot is the image of the game, and how do we change some of those mindsets around, you know, the women's game is too slow, or it's not exciting enough, or, you know, how do we change those mindsets? And one of the things we talked about in Clubhouse the other week was the television piece of this. And so, and I don't know the figures for Europe or Britain, but I know over here it's only 4% of televised sport is women's sport. And it's not just that, it's the way it's presented. And so if you contrast the two, the build up to a men's game to the build up to a women's game, if you contrast how many cameras there are at a game and how many angles you can see that goal being scored, you're getting one replay of the women's, the caliber of everything around that production needs to improve. The marketing of the game, we just, those are some of the big pieces. We need more sponsorship, league-wide sponsorship as well. If I contrast the two, MLS have a lot of league-wide sponsorship that helps pay for a bunch of things. So I think the biggest piece is an attitude shift, and we need everyone on board for that. And we need, and again, we've talked about this on Clubhouse, we need our male allies to be the ones who will step up and help us, change those mindsets. And there's a lot of guys out there who've been amazing, who are supportive, and who really want to help. We just need to get more and more of them. And like I say, we need a good television deal. One of the things that puts people off watching is if you have to go searching everywhere to find where that game is being played, it's frustrating and it's off-putting, and you're like, ugh, I've got to watch a stream. It's not good. It's going to cut out. Like I say, I'm not going to, if they score, I'm not going to get a replay. All those kinds of things. It makes it seem second rate, even when obviously the soccer on the field is amazing. So those are some of the things, but that's going to take investment. That's going to take some big dollars. It's going to take some of these, billionaires to look at women's owning a women's team instead of a men's. And it's chicken and egg, They're not going to do that unless they see it as a proposition that unless you've got so much money that it's a hobby, if you know what I mean. Where you're not worrying about the return on your investment. But that's kind of what it's going to take, unfortunately, because we know the standard is there. We know how well these women play. And it's how do you turn that every 4-year World Cup fever that especially here, suddenly everyone's a soccer fan. I mean, seriously, everyone.
It happens, for sure. I'm not, rugby's not my biggest. It's probably the least with cricket. But if there's World Cup rugby on, I'm watching it. I'm watching every game. You just do. You're absolutely right. We get that fever and we get pulled along with everyone else and we're riding the wave together. But it's keeping that wave going, isn't it? When the competition is over. It happens with Olympics in certain cities. When you have an Olympics in a, when we had it here, London, the whole country got behind it and sport grew, but it's keeping it going.
Yeah, and it's how do you tap that momentum and get those casual fans, if you like, who are the 4-year fan. How do you get them to say, "Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I need to more." It's, and happily that's not my area of expertise.
You leave that to someone else.
But I mean, obviously, part of my role is doing this, is speaking engagements, is talking, it's encouraging other people to people, and I am passionate about doing that and happy to keep on doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that accessibility as well, isn't it? And access is always a huge thing, and access to play, but access to watch, like you're quite rightly talking about. Like I'm really keen to start watching more the NWSL starting up this weekend, and it's like, right, where can I watch it? And it's stream for me. We have to go on Twitch, which is, so I'll use that. It's not great, but I'll use it. but I wish it was, I need it on mainstream TV. You need to create a path of least resistance, right? So
and I know I was going to say, and I know for MLS, a lot of the games are on Sky. There's a MLS, there's an Orlando City UK supporter group.
Oh, okay.
They're on Twitter. There's a podcast. You guys should get on a podcast together. That would be
I need to do that.
I'll connect you.
That would be great. Yes, please do.
But they have watch parties when they could, obviously not last year because of the pandemic, but they've had watch parties together, or they'll be messaging each other while they're watching the game, and they've become, quite a solid unit over there because, they're united in their love for Orlando City. But they can watch the games. Sometimes it's crazy o'clock at night, but
that's my biggest challenge with watching the NWSL is the time. It's like, I did look and they're like, I think it's Friday, isn't it? It starts. I think it's Friday.
It's the 14th for the girls. Is the 14th.
Is the Challenge Cup? Is it the Challenge Cup that comes first?
Yeah. Sorry, that's the first game that's the first home game. Sorry.
I think it's Friday.
Yeah.
It's like 7 p.m. for your time, which is like, I don't know, but I'll be asleep.
8 o'clock. Oh gosh, you just know it.
So, and I'm not sure. I've asked the question, but I'm assuming I can watch replays on Twitch, which I'm hoping I can.
Right.
So I want to see the games.
Our first one is Saturday at 7. So
right, that's. What are you about? 5, 10?
Yeah, 5.
5, so that's sort of like, I'll be asleep. But I will try and watch it on replay. I'm hoping that I can watch it on replay. But it is that piece, I've got I'm interested in it because I'm passionate about sports, but we want to make it easy for people to watch and to see. And I think the quality that the female players that you've got, your national team just proves that. National team has been freaking amazing for so long. Really, really has, and yet it struggles with this league. So we really need to get behind it and, get more people watching it, get more people involved, so more teams come up around, around the US, and that makes the game globally better, and more women get involved, and which is, the piece that I really, want to encourage more than anything.
I've loved watching it grow in England.
It's been amazing.
It has, and I think there was a World Cup effect there. I think, the women doing the Lions doing so well, Lionesses doing so well in the World Cup gave
and at the Olympics we had the Team GB that did well as well. That really helped.
And I think, teams like Man City, who released that video with the, what was it called, same passion, same I can't remember, but it was a mixed video of the two teams basically saying we play on the same stadium, we all wear cleats, we play with the same ball, it's team, one passion. That's what we need more of, is the men's teams who have the dollars or the pounds getting together and really helping push the game. One of the great things for, again, going back to the Pride jersey release, was how many of the guys took photographs of themselves wearing it.
I saw that.
And posting them on Instagram, and just really supporting the team. And I think that those kinds of things, you can't put a price on that. Those things really help, because that's them saying, we're all one city and we're all one team and we support each other and we're family. And it's like going to watch your sister play or your brother.
Exactly. And I think it is bringing the men on board, like you're talking about male allies earlier on, but that is really important. And some of the footballers, as they come up through and they get older, they get married, they have kids, might have a daughter, they might only have daughters. Well, surely you want your daughter to have access to play in any sport she wants to play, or to play football, and have the same possibilities and opportunities that you had. And I think that does help. I see Ian Wright here. He talks about women's football a lot. He's a great ally for us, and I love that. And he's a son. He's got a mother. He's got a sister. He's got kids. And that's where it comes from. You've got to understand. Would you want your sister to have same opportunities, or your cousin, your female cousin? Of course you would. You want them to have that opportunity. So that's why we need the men to come on board and get rid of this old boys network.
Girls don't play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to get rid of that.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, so you have your own podcast? You were saying your Orlando. Is it for the men's game, or is it a mixed
not
podcast?
Me. No, not me.
As in Orlando City.
Oh gosh, if you look up Orlando City podcast, it will come up with probably about 20.
Right. Okay.
A lot of people do podcasts about us, which is amazing. The one I was talking to you about, his name's Taylor, and I'll connect you via Twitter.
Thank you.
Because he's the one who lives in the UK, but is passionate about Orlando City. So I'll put you in touch.
No, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd really love to chat to him. I'm assuming to him. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, you never know.
No, Taylor it could be either way, couldn't it? It could be either way.
It's like Callie. Callie can. Well, and you're Sam.
Yeah, I'm Samantha, but I just forget the rest of it, and I'm Sam only. Well, a couple of final points, I guess. Really, one is obviously talking about the difference between the men and the women's game. There is obviously always this conversation over there, and we have it here about money and about how the players are paid. How does that work over there? Like, I know, but obviously the listeners, this is for the benefit of them, really, how it works over there.
Yeah, and I think, again, fairly recently, because MLS has become so successful, we're finally able to pay, even the most junior players, a decent salary now. That still hasn't happened in the women's game. And I think until it's more successful and there is more sponsorship and there's more money in the game, unfortunately that will continue to be true. And what you find is a lot of the younger players will go off and play a second season. So a lot of our players, once our season finishes in October, will go to Australia and they'll play a season over there and get paid, because they'll get paid and for that season. So there's still a huge discrepancy in salary, and obviously it's been pretty well documented that the national team have been in court about it, which is some of the things I despair sometimes, because some of the things were so easy to fix. Why would you give so when players travel, they get a per diem, they get money per day that you can you have maybe a team meal, one meal, but then the rest your breakfast or your lunch or whatever you can go get on your own. Why would you give the men different to the women?
I know.
It's such an easy solve, that one is. The travel, whether however many of them are in a room together, where you sit on the plane, all those things are so easy to sort out. And why are you treating women differently to men? The rest of it is a lot more complicated. But again, bonuses for winning, national team games. You should be paying the women more, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, because it's been so successful. The women's national team has just been so successful, yet they don't get paid same as the men.
But I know it's not as easy as that. I know there's a lot more complication to it, but some of those things are so easily solved and so obvious. They're continuing that fight.
Yes, I saw Megan
and Megan is what a great spokesperson. She's
amazing.
She's passionate. She's able to very well articulate what she wants to get across. And she's a mover and shaker. She really is. you know, and it's great to see her be this spokesperson for the team.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's incredible. And you know, she's becoming, you know, I think most people know who she is now, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, there's a few people like that in sport there, everyone knows, but actually I would say that Megan's probably up there. You know, you can say Usain Bolt, everyone knows who Usain Bolt is.
Right.
Cristiano Ronaldo, everyone knows who he is, you know, but I feel, you know, there's not many women, sadly, you know, that you can think, well, who you know, name me as in any sport, any woman that's probably known globally, that whether you're really into your sport or not, you know, Megan's becoming one, or probably is, you know, most people know who Megan Rapinoe is.
Yeah. Serena, I would say as well.
Well, yeah, Serena's like, you know, yeah, I love Serena. She's just, yeah.
She's a goddess.
Yeah, she is a goddess. Yeah, she is a goddess. So I think anyone that knows me knows that I think that anyway. Just you know, everything and she will speak up and stand up, and she's determined, she's athletic, everything that Megan is really, for gender equality, fights for gender equality. You know, Serena will do that, and you know, they both had their fair share of challenges for whatever reason, but they still continue to fight, and I admire that in both of them. And yeah, hopefully get both of them on my podcast would be great.
Dream big.
Oh, I am not playing small. I am not playing small. Not at all, Kay. Not at all. It's been amazing to talk to you. I'm very conscious of time. Thank you so much for being on here. Just give me what you hope the future will be for your Orlando Pride. What do you hope the next 12 months will look like for you guys?
Well, obviously, I would love us to win.
Yeah.
I want us to win everything this year.
Yeah.
Which would
You've got a great team. You've got a great team.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Great manager. We now have an executive vice president who's also female, Duffy, who actually worked for in the NWSL league office. So she and she was a player. She has really great all-round knowledge. Person, if you want her for your podcast.
I just wrote down her name.
Yeah, she's amazing. Really is. And I think that's helped change mindsets a little bit within the club, where it's a good and a bad thing when you share staff, because you know, they can get pulled away because something's happened with City. You know, maybe we've made a new signing, but there was supposed to be this happening for the Pride, and you know, sometimes there's a tug and pull on that. Having someone finally who is you know, in charge of the team as a whole, and in charge of pushing everything forward, I think we're definitely going to see some momentum this year because of her. So it's great.
One other question before is around that, well, not around that really, is how I'm hoping to get the answer that I want, but how you, because obviously I've seen it, sadly there's been stuff in the press over here about Birmingham City, and they've obviously got the men's team and they've got the women's team, and how the women are getting treated unfairly, and all the players have signed a petition or signed a letter to the board about certain things that are happening that they're not getting, that the men are getting, training facilities, all sorts of things. How is it there for you within Orlando as a club? Do everything the men get, do the women get? Like, I don't know what your men get. You know, I'm assuming they get all their therapists and whatever. I don't know if they get, you know, obviously someone like me to support them, or a psychologist or whatever. But whatever they get, do the women get exactly the same?
They do. I think the only thing and certainly staff-wise, and you know, and I know sometimes when players come, they don't realize they're going to get their breakfast and lunch. You know, small things like that, especially in the beginning of NWSL, when you know some of the teams were, you know, not in a great state, and we would get someone who'd come from another team, and they'd be just like, "Whoa, what is happening here? This is amazing." I think the difference, and you know, I'm sure this is something the players would say, is they are in two different training facilities,
right?
And you know, the girls one is great, but the guys is better. You know, they've got a cryo room, whatever it is. You know, when they go in after,
madness.
Yeah, but they have one of those, and they have those big baggy trousers that you put on and you sit in that, so those things not yet. So that would definitely be my hope for the Pride, that there's equality but not quite equity yet.
Right. Okay.
So I would hope for that, but again, it's all dollars, and that's part of the issue. The budget is different because it has to be. So we just need more people to come.
Yes. Well, hence what, I want to get you on this podcast, and hopefully some, maybe some of your players and Amanda as well. It'd be great to have you guys on here, because, I'm here. I want to celebrate you guys and what you're doing. And, I love the league. So yeah, I want more people to know about it. So, let's raise the visibility.
Your way.
Awesome. Kay, thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's been great to get to know a bit about you, but about Orlando City and Orlando Pride and what's happening over there. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You've been listening to the Real Life Sports Show. I hope you found some value and joy in this podcast. If you have, then please tell someone else about it. And also, while you're at it, why not leave me a 5-star review? Also, you can share it on your socials. You'll find me mostly on Instagram at Sam Adams Coach. You can also check me out at my website, sam-adams.com. Send any comments or any interest in coaching or speaking to my Instagram. Just drop me a DM. I look at all my messages and I respond to every single one of them.